Admiral Menu sat in his chair aboard the Deep Space Monitoring Station, watching the screens with calm eyes. He had been expecting this day for months. The alien ships appeared on the scanners like dark clouds gathering before a storm. They were massive, larger than anything humans had built. Their hulls gleamed with strange metals that reflected the distant stars. The communication channel crackled to life. A face appeared on the main screen. It was not human. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, skin that looked like polished stone, and a mouth that opened sideways instead of up and down. This was Counselor, leader of the Galactic Council. Primitive species of the third planet's voice came through the translators. You have been found. You have been judged. You now exist within the territory claimed by the Galactic Council. For 47,000 cycles, we have maintained order in this region of space. All species must pay tribute for this protection. Minu did not move. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. He raised one hand slightly, telling them to stay quiet and keep recording. Continued, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. You will provide 40% of your industrial production. You will provide genetic samples from your population. You will surrender control of your military forces to council oversight. You have 30 solar cycles to comply. This is not a negotiation. This is law. The transmission showed images of other alien species bowing before council ships. It showed planets stripped of resources. It showed armies of different creatures wearing council uniforms, their own flags replaced with the council's symbol. The message was clear: obey or face destruction. Acknowledge this message, demanded. Confirm your compliance. Minu watched the alien's face for a long moment. Then he reached forward and switched off the communication channel. The screen went dark. Sir, Captain Lee asked from his station near the weapons console, should we send a response? No, Minu said simply. He stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. The council ships hung there like sleeping predators. Log everything. Send copies to Earth Command, Mars Colony, and all outer stations, but send them nothing. On Earth, Ambassador Park received the same message in her office in Geneva. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind that worked like a calculator. She had spent 20 years in diplomatic service, negotiating treaties and resolving conflicts. She read through the council's demands 3 times. Her assistant knocked on the door. Ambassador, the Security Council is asking for our response. What should I tell them? Looked at the document on her screen. 40% of industrial output, genetic samples, military surrender. She thought about her grandmother who had survived a war. She thought about her daughter who dreamed of becoming an engineer. She thought about humanity's long, bloody history of people who demanded submission and the people who refused to give it. Tell them we are reviewing the situation, said. Tell them we will respond when we are ready. And the council, her assistant asked. They are waiting at the designated coordinates. Let them wait, replied. Across human space, the message spread. On Mars, colony leader Song read it while inspecting a new terraforming station. She laughed once, a short bitter sound, and went back to work. On Europa Station, miners discussed it over breakfast and decided it was someone else's problem. On the Moon, children learned about it in school and asked their teachers what tribute meant. The Council's messenger ships waited at the edge of the solar system. They had done this 1,000 times before with 1,000 different species. Usually, the primitive creatures panicked immediately. They sent desperate messages begging for mercy or asking for more time. Some tried to negotiate. Some attacked in futile gestures of defiance that were quickly crushed, but they always responded. Days passed, then weeks. The messenger ships sent repeated requests for acknowledgement. All went unanswered. Counselor checked the reports with growing confusion. His intelligence officers assured him that the humans had received the message. Their communication networks were active. They were not hiding or preparing to flee. They were simply going about their lives as if the council did not exist. Perhaps they do not understand, one of his advisors suggested. They are primitive. Maybe their translation was incorrect. Sent the message again, this time in 17 different languages and formats. He included visual aids and the wording. He made the threats more explicit. Admiral Minu received the second message. He deleted it without reading past the first line. Ambassador received it as well. She filed it in a folder labeled Rejected Proposals and continued her meeting about the new space station being built near Jupiter. The deadline approached like a countdown clock that only the council was watching. They sent daily reminders. They sent officials to the edge of human space, demanding meetings. They sent recordings of other species who had, trying to show humans what cooperation looked like. Humanity said nothing. Captain Lee monitored the council ships from his patrol vessel near the outer planets. They seemed frustrated, moving in agitated patterns like confused insects. He reported their movements to Admiral Minu every 6 hours. The reports were filed and analyzed. Defense positions were quietly reinforced. Supply lines were secured, but no one contacted the council. On the 30th solar cycle, the deadline passed. No tribute arrived at the council ships. No humans came to negotiate. No messages of surrender or defiance were sent. Counselors stared at the empty space where Earth's tribute should have been delivered. In 47,000 cycles, this had never happened. Every species either obeyed or fought. This silence was something new, something wrong. "Bring the fleet," commanded. "These creatures must learn respect." High above Earth, Admiral Minu watched the council's messenger ships begin to move. They were leaving, going back to wherever they came from. He knew they would return with weapons. He pressed a button on his console. Across human space, a simple message went out to every ship, every station, every colony. "They are coming. Be ready." Ambassador received the message in her office. She closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of everything humanity had built, everything they had survived. Then she opened her eyes and began making calls. The silence was over, but humanity's answer was just beginning. Dr. Sora had never seen an alien before the council arrived. Now she spent every waking hour studying them. Her laboratory on Earth's moon was filled with screens showing intercepted transmissions, biological scans, and behavioral analysis. Every piece of data the council carelessly broadcast was captured, analyzed, and "Their physiology is inefficient," she told her team during a morning briefing. 4 eyes mean 4 times the visual data to process. Their nervous system has redundant pathways that slow reaction time. They evolved on a high-gravity world, so their bone density is incredible, but it makes them slower in normal gravity. Her assistant pointed at a scan of a council soldier. "What about their technology?" "Stolen," Sora said bluntly. "Or, we have traced 17 different design philosophies in their ships. They did not invent most of what they use. They took it from the species they conquered." While Sora worked in her laboratory, Commander worked in the shadows. His office did not officially exist. His team had no names on any roster. They were intelligence officers, the ones who gathered secrets that others did not want found. Stood before a holographic map of known council space. Red dots marked their military bases. Blue lines showed their supply routes. Yellow zones indicated conquered species' home worlds. "They are overextended," he said to his second-in-command. "They control 47 species across 200 star systems. They do not have enough ships to police all of it. They rely on fear and reputation." "So if we break that reputation," his officer asked. "Then the entire structure becomes unstable, finished." He highlighted 3 yellow zones. These species were conquered recently, less than 200 years ago. They might still remember what freedom felt like. On Mars, Song walked through the corridors of her colony with steady steps. People stopped her constantly, asking questions about the council, about the deadline that had passed, about what would happen next. She gave the same answer every time. "Keep working, trust the plan." "What plan?" a young engineer asked her. Smiled, "The one where we do not bow." Her colony was one of 15 on Mars. Together they housed nearly 2 million humans. The terraforming projects were slowly making the planet breathable. Domes covered the settlements like bubbles, but outside, machines worked day and night to transform the hostile world. The Council had demanded 40% of industrial production. Mars alone produced enough food, water, and manufactured goods to support half of human space. If they gave 40% to the Council, people would starve. Had no intention of letting anyone starve. She entered the command center where colony leaders from across Mars were gathered on video screens. "Report," she said simply. "Defense grid is at 80%, said the leader of Olympus Colony. "We can reach full capacity in 3 days. Food stores are sufficient for 8 months of siege," reported Hellas Colony. "Manufacturing has shifted to military priorities," said Vol's Colony. "The Council thinks we are building water processors. We are building missile systems." Nodded, "Good. When they come, they will expect us to be afraid. Instead, we will show them what humans do when threatened." Back in Earth orbit, Admiral Menu received daily reports from across human civilization. Every report said the same thing. No panic, no chaos, no surrender. People were calm. They went to work. They cared for their children. They built and created and lived. But beneath the surface, preparations continued. Ships that had been registered as cargo haulers were retrofitted with weapons. Mining operations on asteroids were actually building military outposts. Research stations were developing new technologies designed specifically to counter Council advantages. Captain Lee commanded one of the patrol fleets near Neptune. His ships were small, fast, and officially unarmed. Officially. "How long until the Council returns?" his navigator asked. "Check the calculations. 3 weeks, maybe less if they are angry enough." "And we are just going to wait here." "We are going to appear to wait here," corrected. "In reality, we are positioning ourselves exactly where we need to be when they arrive." His fleet of 20 ships spread out across the outer solar system. To the Council's long-range scanners, they would look like normal patrol vessels doing normal duties. But each ship carried weapons that had been designed in secret, tested in secret, and deployed in secret. Humanity had learned long ago that the best defense was the one your enemy did not know existed. Ambassador sat in a secure conference room deep beneath Geneva. Around the table sat the leaders of every major human government and corporation. There were no cameras, no recordings. What was said here would never leave this room. "The Council will return with their military," said. "They have never had to actually fight for compliance before. They will expect us to surrender when we see their fleet." "And we will not?" asked the representative from the Asian Alliance. "We cannot," said simply. "If we surrender now, we are slaves forever. Our children will be slaves. Will be slaves. The Council does not offer temporary occupation. They offer permanent subjugation." "What are our chances in a real fight?" asked the African Union's leader. Brought up a hologram. It showed force projections, resource calculations, and tactical simulations. "Commander's analysis gives us a 30% chance of survival if we fight conventionally. Those odds improve significantly if we fight unconventionally." "Meaning?" "Meaning we do not fight the way they expect. We do not meet them in open battle. We do not try to match their numbers. We use every advantage we have. Home territory, knowledge of the terrain, supply lines they cannot cut, and the desperation of people fighting for their own freedom." The room was quiet. Then the representative from the Pan-American Coalition spoke. 30% is better than 0, and 0 is what we get if we surrender." One by one, the others nodded. Dr. Sora sent her final report to Admiral Minu. It contained everything she had learned about Council biology, technology, and tactics, weaknesses in their ship designs, gaps in their sensor coverage, chemical compounds they were allergic to, frequency ranges that disrupted their communications. "This is what we have learned from their arrogance," she wrote. "They broadcast everything because they never imagined anyone would use it against them. They have been the hunters for so long, they forgot what it feels like to be prey." Commander finalized his intelligence network. He had agents watching every council movement. He had into their communication systems. He had mapped every ship, every base, every supply depot they possessed. "Information is ammunition," he told his team, "and we have been loading our guns for 30 solar cycles." Song stood on the surface of Mars in her environmental suit, watching Earth rise over the horizon. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, beautiful, worth defending. Her communicator chirped. The message was simple: they are coming. She turned and walked back toward the colony dome. There was work to do. Across human space, the silence ended, not with broadcasts or declarations or threats, but with action. Ships moved to positions, weapons powered up, soldiers checked their equipment, engineers made final adjustments. The Council thought humanity's silence meant fear. They were wrong. The silence had been strategy. 30 solar cycles of watching, learning, and preparing. Now the Council was returning with their fleet, expecting to find frightened primitives begging for mercy. Instead, they would find humans ready for war. High Arbiter commanded the Council's punishment fleet with absolute confidence. 200 warships followed his flagship through the dark between stars. He had done this before, many times. Species that refused to pay tribute needed education. Education meant overwhelming force displayed until they surrendered. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, stood on his bridge, his 6 limbs folded in a posture of authority. "Broadcast the message," he commanded. Across all human frequencies, the message went out. Images of the fleet filled every screen. The ships were enormous, bristling with weapons, gleaming with power. The Council had brought enough firepower to sterilize a planet. "Primitive humans," voice boomed. "You have ignored the Council's lawful demands. You have shown disrespect. This ends now. Submit immediately or face complete eradication. You have 1 solar rotation to comply. After that, we will begin with your outermost colonies and work our way to your home world." Admiral Minu watched the transmission from his monitoring station. Around him, officers waited for his response. He looked at the tactical display showing 200 enemy ships. Then he looked at the comm station. "Send the message," he said quietly. The response went out on the same frequencies the Council had used. It was not a negotiation. It was not a plea. It was a single word spoken by Fleet Commander Shin, leader of what the Council thought was Earth's merchant fleet. "No." His 4 eyes widened in shock. "Clarify your response," he demanded. This time Admiral Minu answered himself. "You heard correctly. The answer is no. Leave our system now or we will make you leave." Laughter erupted on the Council flagship's bridge. Officers found the threat hilarious. These primitives had perhaps 50 ships total, and none of them were real warships. They were threatening a force 4 times their size with 100 times their firepower. "You are outmatched," said, his voice filled with amusement. "Your technology is inferior. Your numbers are pathetic. What possible reason do you have to refuse?" Ambassador's voice came over the channel. She spoke calmly, as if discussing weather instead of war. "You came to our home. You demanded our freedom. You offered us slavery and called it protection. We refuse because we are human and humans do not kneel." "Then you will die on your feet," replied. He cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. "Destroy the nearest human outpost. Show them what defiance costs." The Council fleet began moving toward Neptune, where Captain's patrol vessels waited, expected the small ships to flee. Instead, they spread out in a defensive formation. "They are not running," his tactical officer observed. "They will," said confidently. "Fire warning shots, let them see our power." The Council warships opened fire. Beams of energy cut through space, missing the human ships by calculated distances. It was meant to terrify, not kill. Captain watched the energy beam streak past his ship. "Well," he said to his crew, "they shot first, returned fire." What happened next surprised the Council fleet completely. The patrol vessels revealed themselves to be warships designed by Engineer Han. Hidden weapon ports opened. Missiles launched. Energy weapons that should not have existed on such small ships began firing with deadly accuracy. One Council warship exploded, then another, then three more. Stared at his tactical display in disbelief. How? Their technology is primitive. But Engineer had not built primitive ships. She had spent the 30 solar cycles studying every piece of Council technology they had intercepted. She had found the weaknesses in their shields. She had designed weapons specifically to exploit those weaknesses. The human ships were smaller and fewer, but they had been built for this exact fight. "All ships engage," roared. The battle spread across the outer solar system. The Council had numbers and size. Humanity had knowledge and desperation. Council ships fired massive weapons that could destroy cities. Human ships dodged and weaved, too small and fast to hit easily, striking weak points with surgical precision. Specialist Park sat in a bunker on Earth's moon, his fingers flying across holographic keyboards. He was humanity's best cyber warfare expert, and he had been waiting for this moment. The Council's ships were networked together, sharing targeting data and coordinates. It made them efficient. It also made them vulnerable. Virus entered the Council network through their own communication beam. Within seconds, it spread across the fleet. Ships began reporting false targets. Weapons systems locked onto their own allies. Navigation computers showed incorrect positions. "Their automated systems are turning against them," reported to Admiral Menu. "They are shooting at ghosts and each other." Medical officer had spent the last month studying Council biology with Dr. Sora's research. Now she used that knowledge in ways her medical training had never intended. She knew which frequencies caused pain to Council species. She knew which chemicals in their atmosphere were toxic to them. She knew where their organs were located and how their bodies failed. She transmitted this information to every human ship. When boarding actions occurred, humans knew exactly where to shoot. When chemical weapons were deployed, they targeted Council weaknesses. The knowledge saved human lives and ended Council ones. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it finally paused, the Council had lost 40 ships. 40. In their entire history of conquering species, they had never lost more than 5 in a single engagement. High Arbiter retreated to a safe distance, his confidence shattered. He had come to educate primitives. Instead, he had walked into a trap designed specifically for him. "Impossible," he muttered, reviewing the battle data. "They are barely capable of spaceflight. How did they do this?" His intelligence officer provided the answer. "They studied us, High Arbiter. Every transmission we sent, every scan we made, every careless word we broadcast. They were watching and learning while we assumed they were trembling in fear." Felt something he had not experienced in decades: uncertainty. He opened a secure channel to Counselor. "The humans are more dangerous than assessed," he reported. "I request additional forces." His face appeared on the screen, his 4 eyes blinking in agitation. "You have 200 ships. How many do you need to defeat one primitive species?" 2,000, said grimly. "Maybe more. These are not like the others. They do not fight with honor or according to expected patterns. They are vicious, clever, and willing to sacrifice everything. I have never seen anything like them." There was a long pause, then spoke. "Very well. The Council commits its full military strength. We cannot appear weak. Every species in our territory is watching. If humans defeat us, others will rebel." "Others may rebel anyway," said quietly. "When word spreads of what happened here, every conquered species will know that the Council can bleed." Fleet Commander regrouped his forces near Mars. His ships had taken damage, and he had lost 3 vessels with all hands. But they had proven something important. Humans could fight the Council and win. "Status report," he requested. His officers provided numbers, ammunition remaining, casualties, ship damage. It was not good. They had won this battle, but barely. And the Council had 160 ships left, with more coming. "We cannot win a war of attrition," one officer said. "They have too many resources." "Then we do not fight that kind of war," replied. "We make every battle cost them more than they can afford. We make them bleed until they decide we are not worth the price." Ambassador received a transmission from a Council frequency she had not seen before. When she opened it, a different alien face appeared. This one looked tired and had markings that suggested age. "I am Sub-Counselor," the alien said. "I lead the species conquered by the Council 600 years ago. I watched your battle. I have a question. How does it feel to say no?" Studied the alien's face carefully. "Why do you ask?" "Because my people forgot how," said softly. "We surrendered so long ago that we do not remember what freedom was like, but watching you fight reminded us. You have started something here, humans. Something the Council cannot stop." The transmission ended. Sat in silence, understanding the implications. The war was no longer just about humanity. It was about every species the Council had ever conquered. Admiral Minu watched the Council's massive reinforcement fleet appear on long-range sensors. 2,000 ships, an armada. He did not feel fear. He felt determination. "They are coming," he said. "Alert all defensive positions. This is what we prepared for." The message spread across human space. The real war was beginning. The Council's armada arrived like a metal storm. 2,000 warships filled the space between Mars and Jupiter, so many that they blocked out the stars. High Arbiter stood on his flagship's bridge, surrounded by the might of 47 conquered civilizations. This time, there would be no surprises. This time, humanity would be crushed. "Begin the assault," he commanded. But the humans were not where the Council expected. The defense positions near Earth and Mars appeared abandoned. Stations that should have been bristling with weapons sat dark and empty. It looked like humanity had fled. "They are hiding," a tactical officer reported. "Scans show minimal activity in the inner system." Admiral Minu watched from his true command position, deep inside an asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. Around him, holographic displays showed the Council fleet spreading out, searching for targets that seemed to have vanished. "Let them spread thin," Minu said calmly. "Wait for my signal." The Council fleet divided into hunting groups, each searching different regions of the solar system. They expected to find humans cowering on their planets. Instead, they found asteroids. Thousands of asteroids, many of which were not asteroids at all. Fleet Commander gave the order, "Light them up." All across the asteroid belt, what the Council had thought were rocks suddenly came alive. Hidden bases opened fire. Camouflaged ships powered up. Weapons that had been positioned over weeks of secret preparation began targeting the scattered Council vessels. The Council had superior ships and weapons, but battles are not won by technology alone. They are won by tactics, positioning, and knowing the terrain. The asteroid belt was humanity's terrain, and they had turned it into the largest ambush in history. Council ships found themselves surrounded. They tried to form defensive positions, but the asteroids made formations impossible. Every rock could be hiding a weapon. Every shadow could contain an enemy. The Council's superior numbers meant nothing when they could not bring those numbers to bear effectively. Specialist watched his screens with satisfaction. The virus he had planted in the Council's systems during the first battle had been dormant, waiting. Now it activated. Council ships began experiencing system failures. Weapons misfired. Shields flickered. Navigation went haywire. They are calling for technical support on 17 different channels, reported. They think it is a glitch. They do not realize I am in their systems, watching everything they do. He typed rapidly, sending false coordinates to Council commanders. Ships that thought they were moving to reinforce allies instead jumped into ambushes. Vessels that believed they were retreating to safety flew directly into human firing zones. Medical officer coordinated with combat teams throughout the belt. Her knowledge of Council biology had been shared with every human fighter. When Council soldiers boarded human stations, they found defenders who knew exactly how to kill them efficiently. Aim for the neural cluster on their backs, she instructed a Marine squad facing Council borders. 2 shots there and they drop immediately. Do not waste ammunition on their chest armor. The Marines followed her guidance. Council soldiers who had conquered 100 species fell to humans who had studied their weaknesses. Dr. Sora monitored the biological data coming in from the battlefield. The Council used dozens of different species in their military, each with different vulnerabilities. See them all. The ones with 6 limbs are weak to sonic weapons, she transmitted to a defensive station. The flying ones cannot see infrared. The aquatic species cannot survive in low humidity for more than 2 hours. Every weakness became a weapon. Every biological quirk became a tactical advantage. The battle for the asteroid belt lasted 3 days. At the end, the Council had lost 300 more ships. High Arbiter stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. This is not possible, he said. We have superior everything. How are they winning? Commander could have answered that question. From his intelligence center, he watched the Council fleet struggle against an enemy they did not understand. The Council fought with doctrine and procedure. They followed rules of engagement that had worked for. They expected their enemies to do the same. Humans wrote new rules. There were no human rules about fair fighting in space. There were no regulations about where weapons could be hidden or how enemies should be engaged. Humans fought with every advantage they could create, legal or not, honorable or not. War is not a sport, said to his staff. It is survival. The Council forgot that because they have been winning for too long. On Mars, Song defended her colony against a Council assault group that broke through the asteroid belt. 20 Council ships approached the Red Planet, expecting to find civilian settlements they could easily conquer. Instead, they found that every dome was a fortress. Every settlement had hidden weapon emplacements. The terraforming equipment that the Council had dismissed as harmless could be repurposed into devastating weapons. Machines designed to heat the Martian atmosphere could create thermal blasts hot enough to melt ship hulls. Drilling equipment meant for mining could punch holes through armor. Even the agricultural domes contributed, releasing clouds of genetically modified pollen that clogged Council air filters. You wanted our industrial production, broadcast to the Council ships as they retreated. Here it is. We hope you enjoy it. Sub-Councilor watched the battle reports from his home world, light years away from the fighting. His people had been conquered so long ago that most of them had never known freedom. They had accepted Council rule as inevitable, unchangeable. But now, watching humans fight, something stirred in his heart, something he thought had died centuries ago: hope. He called a secret meeting with other leaders from his species. The humans are proving something, he said. The Council can be resisted, they can be beaten. We always believed we had no choice. We were wrong. The others looked at him with fear and excitement. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting we remember what it means to be free, said. I am suggesting we watch what happens in human space. And if the humans survive, if they actually defeat the Council, then we rise up as well. Word of the human resistance spread through the conquered territories. Species that had served the Council for generations began to whisper. The Council's tribute collectors found colonies suddenly unwilling to pay. Garrison commanders reported unrest among populations that had been peaceful for decades. Counselor saw the reports and understood the danger. The humans are not just fighting us, he told his advisors. They are inspiring rebellion. If we do not crush them completely, we could lose everything. Then commit everything, his military advisor suggested. Every ship, every soldier, every resource. Destroy humanity so thoroughly that no one dares to follow their example. Considered this. It would leave the Council's other territories vulnerable. It would strain their resources. But what choice did they have? The alternative was watching their empire crumble. Do it, ordered. Total war. Humanity must cease to exist. Fleet commander gathered his forces near Jupiter after the asteroid belt battle. His people were exhausted. Ammunition was running low. Ships needed repairs. They had won again, but the cost was mounting. Can we hold? His second officer asked. Looked at the tactical display showing the remaining Council forces. Even after all their losses, the Council still had more ships than humanity. But those ships were damaged, demoralized, and far from home. We do not have to win every battle, said. We just have to make winning cost more than they can afford. Every ship they lose is one less they have to control their empire. Every soldier that dies here is one less oppressing some other species. We are not just fighting for ourselves anymore. Ambassador received more secret transmissions from species throughout Council territory. They were watching, waiting. Some were offering information about Council weaknesses. Others were preparing their own rebellions. The galaxy is changing, she told Earth's leadership. Win or lose, we have already accomplished something. We showed everyone that the Council is not invincible. Captain commanded the defense of Earth as the Council's final assault began. Every ship humanity could spare was positioned between the Council fleet and the home world. Behind them, billions of people watched and waited. Remember why we fight, transmitted to all human forces. Not for glory, not for conquest, for the right to live free. That is worth any price. The Council fleet came on, massive and terrible. The final battle for humanity's freedom was beginning. And across the galaxy, conquered species watched and prepared for their own fights to come.